meeting. We do pay attention to chats that come up. If somebody monitoring that, or if you want to email a question or that kind of thing. So we're going to start out with our COVID-19 update. I had somebody here for a COVID-19 update a moment ago, but he's gone.
I think I saw Chris on that.
Oh, Chris, you're up there. Chris, what's happening?
Where'd you go?
Chris, where are you?
Chris, where are you?
Chris.
Hello? Sharon, can you, I know Sharon's listening, but can you run over and see where Chris is?
Sorry, everyone, we're just waiting for Chris. Come on, he was there a moment ago.
Mercy.
I got my call.
Fire call.
Fire call, okay.
So,
We'll let him go take care of the fire first. Mark, can you give us some news perhaps?
yep, probably the biggest COVID-related thing is that the Public Safety Department is going to start their weekly testing for all of the staff. So they're in the process of putting that in place, and I don't have a lot of feedback, of course, yet from that, but it will be for all of our full-timers who will be tested once a week.
And this is because of the governor's
Yes,
latest? Okay, okay, that's the only significant change from what we were doing before, correct?
yes.
Right, is that we're gonna be testing our essential workers,
The public safety essential,
public safety
Both.
essential workers, not the administrative staff.
full-time, not the administrative or public works staff.
Okay, okay.
And
And hopefully some of those guys are gonna be first up for the vaccine when it comes out.
that's what the distribution plan is right now. It'll
Right.
be medical, healthcare workers, first responders, and elderly, long-term care.
Okay. And Mark, there's a note on the agenda that says COVID signs?
COVID signs.
I didn't know whether that meant actual signs that are being put up or
Signs of COVID.
signs of COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know why that is there, I don't know.
That's left from
That
some
was
time
left-
in the
It
past.
must have been, sorry about that.
Okay, privilege of the floor. I noticed that we have some folks here from the chapel committee, so we're willing to put you up first and so that you can do your piece of business and get on with your life.
No, that sounds good.
Okay, so what do we need to hear from our chapel committee?
Well,
Go ahead.
I think it was,
We
to
included
talk about
this,
Article 1 for the warrant, and Jack wrote up a warrant for the town, and it reads, maybe you all have it.
they do,
Okay, so you've already read it?
Mhm.
So I don't need to read it again.
right, so,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
So I think it's just to see if you agree with the wording and how it reads, or whether we think there should be any changes.
Well, what I did for the selectmen, and I put the information in their packet, is I've identified 5 ideas or 5 items that are included in this warrant article that I think we need to have guidance from the board and discussion with the committee and the board to address these 5 items. And then we'll take whatever guidance you have about these 5 things, and we will take it to town council,
That's good.
and we'll put it into the proper language.
Very good.
Okay, so I think this is a good starting point, but I think we need answers to these 5 things.
Okay.
So if you want, can I just
Okay.
read the,
Yeah.
so the first item is that it says in here that there will be a separate parcel that the chapel will be located on. So that would be, the first thing is, are we going to do a subdivision of an actual parcel of land off of the existing lot, which is the lot that goes all the way around Corcoran Pond?
Right.
And is identified on the town tax maps as lot 105, map 105, lot 001001. Okay, that is a big lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that,
Yeah.
because I thought the piece that we're talking about was just a small piece on its own, but
That's
it's
right.
not.
So
Yeah,
I would,
subdivide it out.
what I'd like the discussion to be is that what the board wants us to do? Because we're gonna have to get a survey. We're gonna have to take the plan that you all have come up with. We're gonna have to actually mark it out onto the ground.
We have a survey done.
Okay, and that actually lays out that lot. Good. And so that will then have to come to the planning board, and we would have to do a minor subdivision if that's what the board wants to do.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Michael?
Right. But it's understood, obviously, that the town still owns it, right? It's just.
Yeah,
we are
I'm not
designated-
talking about ownership at this
Right,
point, but
right, you're just
just
talking
the
about-
actual subdivision of the
Okay.
land, if you
We're
want to
making
do
it,
that.
we're making it clear that you don't own the
The whole
entire
big
parcel.
yard, right,
You
exactly.
own a
Well,
portion
because
of
there's
the
a
parcel.
lease purchase involved in one of these next items,
Right,
we wouldn't want to
The whole thing
necessarily
would be-
sell the
Right.
entire thing alone.
Understandable.
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So.
Mike, do
what's
you got
the-
anything?
I have something as we get down to further items, and I
Okay.
have a significant one, but I'll wait till we get to it.
Okay,
Alrighty.
so I'm gonna move along as if we are going to take that plan,
Subdivision. Yep.
that survey that's been done, and we will bring it before the planning board as we move forward here. And we would do a minor subdivision and then go from there. So there will be a new lot created. And that will be the lot that will be described. There'll be an actual deed, I guess, prepared if we need to, if the purchase ever happens. That would be the deed that would be used.
Boy, don't worry about that.
And
All right.
Mark, just out of curiosity, when is the planning board, when would they be discussing?
We probably would do it at the January or February meeting.
It's the,
February meeting?
January or
Oh,
February.
January.
Yeah, one of the two. Just depends on,
yeah.
Well,
it's
because
getting
we
this-
want to have the warrant article.
well, we would want to have the warrant
Exactly, so-
article. We got a lot of work to do here, so it may take until the
It's
February.
the second Thursday,
Second
Thursday
Thursday.
of any month at 8 o'clock is when the
Thursday?
planning board meets, so whatever date in January, February that is.
So the second item that I noticed in here is that this is a lease, and it would be a 5-year lease with a purchase clause in it, or an option to purchase
Right,
sometime during that 5 years, or renew for a further 5-year period.
And continue the option.
Right,
I
is
think that's what
everybody's
we,
That's fine,
is
that's what we
okay with
talked
that? You
about.
don't want it to be a different year amount or anything like that? 5 years is okay with an option for another 5.
Do we need to specify what the purchase price is?
Well, yes, that is
Yes.
certainly something,
Yeah.
that is certainly something. So purchase price? Okay,
And I assume that's going to be somehow related to the market value of the new piece of land.
yes, we can have it
So
assessed.
what's the value of the entire
I think
parcel?
Terry had estimated it at 98,000 is what she had as that. I think that she thought it was the whole parcel when she was looking at it. She wasn't looking at it at the little,
Mhm.
what
Right.
PR.
So the entire parcel, market value?
I
Okay.
don't know what the market value is, but we will find that out.
Okay,
Yeah.
So.
and obviously,
and-
yes, an approved
We would have-
subdivision would change.
That's right. It would change that, and we would just, once we identify the lot, we'll turn it over to our assessing agent and they can give us a number.
Okay,
But it'll be based on fair market value. Of the subdivided lot.
I think, as I say, Terry did have a price, but too bad she was gonna come today, but she couldn't make it.
Okay. The third item, Mike, anything on the term of the lease, the 5-year?
No, we'll get to mine when we get to it.
Okay, third item is that there is a restriction in the lease, and I assume it would, if the purchase happened, it would be included in the deed that's transferred, that the building will be used exclusively as a, quote, interfaith chapel. So we're gonna have to check that language with town council. I don't know legally if there are any restrictions, but you are not a religious organization, right? Your 501c3 status as a nonprofit
Right,
is not linked to religion
Right.
in any way. Is that correct?
That's right.
right.
Okay,
but is
So-
there a
But it is, the word faith is in there, and I've had that same concern by members of the community, which, I'm just relaying this, I don't disagree with what you want to do, where it might need to be changed to a community meeting house and get rid of that, or interdenominational instead of that word faith and chapel. Because chapel just leads to the point of religion, and that my person is a big problem with that and thinks that the town can't grant that because it's to a religious organization of any kind, even though it's not specified. So we'll have to check to see what it is on
You have some
that.
restrictions on you about how you have to refer to the building, correct?
Right,
But I wouldn't think that those same restrictions apply to how it's referred to.
Exactly. It can be used for whatever it is, but it can't be given for a specific.
so Mike's concern is giving it to a church.
give
Okay?
it what? I'm sorry.
To a religious organization or a church.
Right,
So we will have to check with town council if the wording needs to be different.
okay,
That's fine. Who's town council?
Town council.
That's not for me. I'm relaying that at the behest of a town property owner who had a similar situation in the town they lived in Massachusetts.
Right. It's,
Well, you can tell me what.
yes, I'm sorry.
Let me say, on this issue of chapel versus church, I think it's very good you're gonna have town council look at it, and we appreciate all the thoughts that, we can help with here. But on that issue, the board of directors spent a lot of time discussing, and with a variety of feelings and.
Could the speaker identify themselves, please?
Yeah, Jack Sanders. And I'll tell you, just for the purposes of the 501c3 application, which is a very, very comprehensive document, and you've seen it, of course.
Right.
There were specifications as to church, and if we were forming a 501 organization for a church, the fact is you don't need to actually go through that whole process. So
right.
we've tried to stay, and we've stayed separate and apart from that.
And we just want to make sure that
specifically faith-based,
that the wording
Yeah.
it
doesn't
makes it simple, people
cloud
understand it.
Yeah.
the town's participation in this. And that's, I think, what Mike's
Yeah.
Sure,
That's a good point. Let me say, we initially, I think in an earlier draft, used the term interdenominational.
interfaith, yeah.
But that in and of itself has
Right.
some meanings of,
Right.
of categories within a, let's say,
Religion.
Christianity.
Right.
So
And that's what we want to make sure.
Yeah.
we're all on the same page in terms of what.
I think the town council can simply tell us
Yeah.
proper
And it's the
language to
Mitchell-
plug in here.
The Mitchell group. Yeah.
That's right.
The
That should be
the
simple enough
generic phrase could be community center.
or something.
Yeah.
But
There was
they're-
the initial plan was as a called the Meeting House.
Right, but meeting house is Quaker, Mike. So-
Or it could be
so-
construed to that.
Yeah, it could be
So no
construed.
hostile-
So,
So,
so just to be explicit,
Temples
you,
and-
you would prefer it to be called a community
Just for the document.
meeting center?
For the
for the
document
document
and
itself,
the
the lease
wording of
document.
the lease and the wording of the
Okay.
warrant article is to make sure that we do not create any issues,
With.
church and state type of issues.
I mean, the whole idea, I think, also would be that if for some reason the building gets built, but the nonprofit is unable to do what needs to be done, that would still be restricted to be using for a community meeting or community
Right.
center.
It doesn't
Okay.
become another
Yeah.
conference center or something.
Right,
like that,
exactly,
Right,
so we'll have parameters.
Yeah. okay?
But, just a question to put out there, maybe that's for our board, but in terms of when we do our fundraising, we can still call it what we called it, the RFK Memorial Chapel for our fundraising, right? I mean, we don't have to change.
Yes,
Right.
although
Yeah.
you might want to think about that as well, because
Right.
we
Right.
have a number of community members who may look upon that as contributing to something Christian or Catholic, as opposed to, contributing to a community meeting place. So it's something to think about from your fundraising perspective. If you don't care about that, that's
Yeah.
fine.
So every
I think-
legal counsel said it's
Yeah.
appropriate for use of fundraising.
Okay,
Yeah, I think let me say it, our preference is to have a chapel, is to call it a chapel. I just want to make clear, we understand that we have to go, think of all the issues and do it the right way.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, the fourth item is that the chapel will be built using only private donations for funding, right? So there's not a budgetary request coming or any public monetary participation in
Correct.
this.
Right.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is for both construction and maintenance of the
Maintenance
building.
going forward,
and, yeah, going forward.
operations.
Yeah.
That's the fifth one, isn't it?
That is, no, that's the fourth item. Be built using private donations for funding. And then the fifth one is that the nonprofit will be responsible for maintenance and operation of the chapel going forward.
Right.
Okay. Because that'll be both in the warrant article and in the lease.
Okay,
Okay? And then, so those are the 5 things that I identified from this wording. So
Okay,
other issues.
Yeah, Mike?
all right, what I'd like to bring up, and this is just from a point of view where I come from as a lender, is I think that there has to be a clause in this where there has to be documented pledges or receipt of monies for you guys to accomplish this before we exercise the lease. Because I would hate to be in a situation where this gets half built or a quarter built, or the land is tied up and there's no way there isn't a commitment on your end to actually get it built or maintain it. I think we've got to see some budgets and some verifications that you're going to have the money to do it.
So,
well,
and
that's what,
I can see putting this as a warrant to the town to do it, but I think there should be some kind of linchpin in there where we see how you're going to do it and have verification that you're able to do it.
And we have done language like this, like as an example, the road acceptance right?
Right.
For Cascade Ridge and Moose Run and River Road. Those were all based on the roads being brought up to a certain specification and a certification by the board. We came up with language to do that. So we can do the same type of language in here, that there is a certification process with another public hearing, even if you want it or whatever, that the selectmen will have to go through to certify that the money is there to build it, and that the budgets have been looked at
So,
as far as the maintenance, but that's not actually having to be done by March. What Mike is saying is that
Right.
that's a trigger before the actual,
so there would be,
Lease can be
a
signed.
clause, Mark, what you're saying, would there be a clause in the warrant? that
there would
say
be something
until
that would address that.
Okay, yeah.
we have so many months, or do
Well, you don't even have to have a time period necessarily unless you want one, but that the board has to take some specific action to review the fact that you have the money
Right,
to move forward with the
Right.
project before entering the lease.
right.
Oh, before enter, okay.
Before entering the lease.
Okay.
So the town can approve this and just,
I see,
leave
so
the
they can
final-
approve it in March, but,
right. But the lease actually isn't done until you show the financial side.
Does it have to be fully funded for the lease?
Well, that's up to the board. That's part of, I think that's what Mike is looking for, is that you either have pledges, you may not have all the money in hand, but you have the pledges to do it or whatever. You've shown the ability to build it, and like Mike and I had talked a little bit previously. So you don't put in the foundation and then go out of existence, and the town has a foundation there with nothing on top of it.
I anticipated that we would have some triggering mechanism to enter into a lease or
Right.
purchase.
Right.
And to go forward.
Does that cover everything, Mike, on that issue?
Yeah, it does, because once the lease is entered into, it's their land, they can do with what they want.
Right,
So as soon as the lease is signed, you guys can start building.
Okay.
Yeah, let me say,
Well-
just from the,
oh,
go ahead,
go
Dave.
ahead, Tex.
Well, just from the perspective of a board member, we wouldn't want to put our feet in concrete without, without knowing that this whole project is most doable and where the money is coming from. Maybe not all, specific donors, but.
No, Jack, I know that and you know that, but I think the town needs to know that to be able to go into this with a free hand.
Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing, Mike.
Yeah.
Is there any other issue, that you can see, something that you want in the warrant article, any mechanism or anything else that you think is important to have in the wording?
So is there going to be something in there that talks about that the lease will not be entered into until the organization has?
Yes, we'll figure out, I have that as something to be added.
Okay.
And will there be, I'm sorry, please.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, would there be a specific amount that you would want to know that we had before we began, or, I mean, because we know the building is expensive, we think about 1.5 million, right?
Something in that range?
Yeah, and so
Well,
if we raise, say, 500,000 right away,
Mhm.
would that, I mean, so I guess I'm asking
But-
how much to,
but can you build the building for 500,000, Bertie?
no, we can't.
No, well, I think by putting this clause in and letting your potential benefactors know about this, they'll commit to the money, because they know that they need to commit to the money to make this work.
Yeah, see, so
You want to start.
you're basically going to have town permission to do this if this
Right.
passes.
Right.
Right,
You'll have town permission to do it, It'll just be conditional upon raising the money to build it.
Right,
So
Because-
you can go out and raise the money and tell people, as soon as we have what we need
this
to build
amount,
it,
we can go forward.
then we can go forward. And so there, it takes the guesswork of whether or not town meeting will approve it
Right.
off the table,
Right,
right?
Yeah.
You've got that
Because
permission.
in order to raise money, obviously, we
Right.
we
Yeah,
have to
but
really have the
You
land.
know, and Mike made this point earlier, you don't necessarily have to have the money in hand if you have pledges from people. That between what you've got in hand and the pledges, you can get
Sure.
to building the building.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
when you're, as a board, comfortable to put the shovel in the ground and
That's
start
right.
building it,
Right.
is, you know,
Right.
because you're gonna be on the hook for
Yeah,
it.
we're-
Right, oh, yeah, no,
Right.
you're-
Again, we're on the same page on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going forward.
absolutely.
Right.
The,
Anything else?
Oh, just, is there anywhere in this that the town, either through the select board or at a town meeting, can comment on the actual structure itself?
You mean like a charrette or a,
Well, approval, I mean,
oh, I see, okay.
do we want the town to have approval of the actual
We
structure?
have planning board.
Well, you have a plan, you have site
Right.
plan review,
Right,
and it would have to go through site plan review.
And I think it would be a very good idea at town meeting to have some of the
Exactly.
preliminary drawings that people can look at so they
Oh, yeah.
understand.
We're
Do a whole
And-
prepared to do
And
that, yes.
certainly explain
There
at
was
that
gonna be a
point in time that,
presentation.
you know, this is all gonna be subject to planning board review, and if you want more details, you can attend the planning board meetings or,
So we're only looking for an exemption on taxes, not an exemption from,
right.
The other
oversight by-
regulations.
oversight by the
Standard,
town.
standard zoning regulations.
Is that, and that's,
If we're fine with the planning board at that level, I'm fine, I'm certainly fine with that.
So would you advise that maybe we do a charrette before town meeting?
so we already know that February, whatever it is, 3rd or 4th, whatever the date of the meeting is. We
Okay.
already know that there's a budget hearing on that night, and we usually talk about warrant articles at that time. So if you plan on a 5 or 10-minute presentation,
Presentation?
okay, it's the first Wednesday of February, whatever that day is.
First Wednesday of February, okay.
And then other public forums, to have you be able to answer questions between that date and town meeting would probably be a good idea.
That's good.
Saturday.
We look forward to that
Yeah.
because it's
February
obviously for
3rd.
this,
February
It's
3rd,
February 3rd.
February,
for this to be successful, we need buy-in from
that's right.
the community.
Mhm.
So that would be a good opportunity.
So we'll plan on a 5 to 10-minute time frame for you during the budget.
On February,
On the 3rd.
okay.
I mean, certainly the last thing you want to happen is for someone to come in to the planning board at that late stage when you're presenting your plan and then get
Right.
resistance to the structure that you are building.
Right.
That would be a very, very bad timing, I think, for you guys.
Yeah, not a good,
Yeah, I think you'd want to prepare the ground ahead of time,
Sure.
Okay,
that
yeah,
the issue will be just adhering to the zoning ordinances and not an issue of, we don't want this building like that.
right.
Absolutely. I mean, we want this building to add a whole dimension in a very, very positive way for the town.
Right.
Something that everybody can look at and say,
Yeah.
this, this is a great, great structure.
Well, just from your perspective, you've looked at it. What is your feeling, just out of your group, would you say?
It seems big and ambitious to me,
Yeah,
but I'm trying to I have to get it in the full context of where it's gonna sit and everything, but
and I think you also had some feedback from us that, with that many people in the building, it might be an idea to include restrooms.
say that again, Margaret, I'm sorry.
With that many people in the building, it might be an idea to include restrooms as part of your plan. You don't necessarily want all the wedding guests dropping out to the beach if in fact there is a,
if we can
Restroom there,
build
yeah.
something there.
Right,
it may not be there from the town. I mean, we're hoping to put a pavilion behind, the beach, but the timeline on that is unclear. unclear at this point. And I would add, you mentioned it before as well, that you've
Terry, you can come over.
already discussed it with Tyrell and their plans for that bit of property.
Right.
that-
Yes, we
Just
have
to the
parcels,
east.
yeah,
Spread out.
So I think people are gonna wanna see that,
right.
you know, your
They were very
structure.
positive of that, the whole
Good,
thing, so
good.
that was good.
That's obviously a big plus, but
Right.
All right.
Terry, does Terry have something?
Did you have something you wanted to add, Terry?
Well, yeah, I was trying to participate online because I was late. And it was, I could hear a lot of, repeating. But the only thing I had to add is the figure that I had come up with, that 90,000, was based on the town's assessment.
Okay,
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so and you heard what we said about getting it appraised once, the town assessing agent will do that once we get the actual parcel separated out.
right.
Yeah.
Which would be totally different.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else that you wanna have included in this? Or that we didn't touch on? Anything, Mike?
No, I'll be more than happy to help you guys with language and ideas if you'd like to get back to me in crafting it, Jack or Bertie.
As far as the lease, and the lease, it's gonna be critical, Mike, to help on the lease. That'll save a lot on the legal side. Okay, so we'll get to work on this.
Right.
Yeah, very good.
And it's gonna be Joe Driscoll.
Joe
Joe
Driscoll.
Driscoll.
And I'm sure you all know, we've filed the application for the 501c3 a couple months ago. That was put together by Larry Gannon, who some of you know, been a long time skier here in the valley. Is a retired CPA, and he and I have done work together in the past on 501c3. The IRS tells us that it could well be a year before approval. We have every expectation when it gets into the hands of a reviewer, and the IRS sends these out to people, various offices around the country, so we don't know where it's going to end up. We might get a call. Last one I had, we got a call from San Diego, and that's perfect. This one, so it really doesn't matter, but we expect when someone does, the IRS pick it up to approve, we would hope that it would go through rather quickly at that point. But,
thank you.
Alrighty, thank you very much.
okay, thank you very much for.
Yeah, thanks.
Mark?
And be in touch with us if,
Yeah, oh, well, as soon as I start the process with town council, I'll be talking to you.
because our board meeting, I think, is December 9th.
Yep,
So that's
we'll
coming.
definitely have some feedback from him before that.
Okay, great.
Good, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah,
All right,
excellent.
thank you. Have a
Thanks.
happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too.
We move back up to the top of the agenda.
Dave's here. And we did have a question, Margaret, that I got by text, a question about COVID cases in Waterville Valley. Dave, do we have any information about COVID cases here in town?
Hey, Chris.
Dave's right there. Maybe I have to unmute him.
Chris just unmuted.
Hey, there he is.
There you go.
There I am, sorry.
So we're back up to our COVID update. I hope the fire emergency was
Yeah.
not an emergency.
Not too much has changed from last week. We're still continuing to monitor, all the information that's coming to us from the state and our federal partners. We are announcing tonight we're going to be participating in the FROST program, which is a optional testing program for first responders. State to provide regular testing for all our members moving forward on a regular basis. It's a monitoring system. It's the rapid tests, and it's optional. We're going to highly encourage that all our members take it, and we're prepared to do our initial with our group at our department training tonight.
Okay. Any concerns, Dave, about the reliability of the rapid tests? I hear it's not very good at picking up when somebody is anti-symptomatic or asymptomatic.
Yeah, these tests are made for asymptomatic, so it's more for to help first responders monitor and kind of keep an eye out on those people who may be asymptomatic. You know, there certainly is room for false positives and false negatives with this, but what this does is we have procedures that they've given us that if we do receive a positive, then we send that person to get a PCR test to confirm it.
Okay. Did I just see another question from Jen come up? We're checking it out, Jen.
I see there's a question about cases in WV get answered yet. I'm not sure I know the question.
The question is there any news about current cases in Waterville Valley?
None that I heard of. I don't know if Chris has. I don't think there has been any changes.
I think it's important that everybody know that we're going to have cases in town. They're going to come and go. And they're certainly not clusters. It's one or two here and there. We don't get any information about those cases. The people who are positive have a right to their privacy and their medical diagnosis and history. So we don't get any notification. I think the important thing to know that is if you are affected by this positive case, you will get a call from DHHS or whoever is doing contact tracing. So the only thing that we get as first responders is if we get dispatched to an address where there's a positive case, and we'll get that at the time we're dispatched. So other than that, we don't have any knowledge of these cases, who has them, how they got them, or anything like that. The people that need to know will know from DHHS.
I would also advise people, because sometimes we hear about things on the community meeting that takes place every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And you might want to listen to that tape and hear what's being said on that tape. Because we have Dr. Waite is on with us every week, and he keeps us updated on what's going on, what we should be careful of. There are a lot of questions right now about people moving between New Hampshire and Massachusetts and vice versa. So that is a very great informational tape for people to go and watch. And I'm not quite sure if you're not on Tim Smith's email list, how you find out about it. But you can probably go on YouTube and see past meetings. They are all recorded.
In the resort.
Right. Or maybe the resort as well.
Yep.
So, okay. Anything else on COVID, you guys? No?
No.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Budget?
Yeah, let's talk about the end of year review and expenditures, right?
Yeah, so you have a report that's a combined report that we're going to be using from now until December 31st. We're tracking the approved numbers, and this is the actual budget approved numbers from town meeting, not the adjusted ones that we did amongst ourselves, but from the tax rate setting. What we have spent against those lines so far this year, which if you go to page 3 of 4, all the way to the bottom, there is a number, I'm sorry, 204, there is a number 678,319.
Mhm.
That number does not include any of the capital items. So it stops up here at 4723, interest on TANs and bands. Do you see that?
Mhm.
So that 678 number stops at that $1,000.
Gotcha.
Everything below that
It's
is
not
in
included.
addition, okay? So if you take that 678,319 number forward, and then Judy has gone through, based on our last couple of years, what we have spent in each line item, and she has filled in a first cut at what we expect to spend between now and the end of the year. And that leads on page 4 to our estimated balance at the end of the year of 242,462.
Okay.
That does not include any capital. With the capital that we have talked about closing the accounts and having that money go to fund balance,
Yes.
we should, as I wrote in my memo, at the present time, we should be able to reach the $300,000 threshold to return to fund balance. And that's more than the 280 that we had projected back at the beginning of fall.
Okay.
So we're doing pretty well. It is going to allow us, and I'm working with, especially with Dylan and Jim, because it mostly affects public works, but there were some capital accounts that we initially had tagged to be closed, to roll that money over, that we may not have to close, we can keep it for maintenance requirements. So going forward, so we'll be talking about that during the budget presentations.
Well, that's good news, and also just so people listening understand, when we underspend our operating budget, the excess typically would go into undesignated fund balance to be used on future capital projects, or in fact to adjust the tax rate as the selectmen see fit in October of each year. So your tax dollars continue to be at work. They're just designated in slightly different ways once we go through that. And any of these things that we decide to do from a capital basis using the fund balance, everyone has an opportunity to vote on that in March as to whether you want to approve the use of fund balance for those particular items. So, okay. Well, that's good news in a very difficult year.
Excellent.
Thank you to the department heads. for
Yes,
everything.
absolutely, absolutely.
I've got just one quick question.
Yeah.
I see we haven't bought the thermal imaging device with the ambulance life pack yet.
Judy and I talked about that. We've got the numbers, we just need to enter them into this sheet.
Okay,
The same thing on the plow truck, you'll see
Right.
that there's
I see the
nothing,
lease,
so we've
right.
already signed contracts. So we'll
Okay.
that'll be reflected the next time we give you the report.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Department heads. Dave and Chris, you want to go first?
I think we talked about our COVID testing for our members. We've been working on that. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of hoops to jump through, and we're happy that we're kind of ahead of the game as far as other first responder agencies in the state. So that's good. Again, we're still kind of watching as the tide flows as to what the town's going to look like. The occupancy report seems to be a little bit going down regularly. So we're kind of keeping a close eye on that. We're buttoning up all of our training requirements for 2020, which got delayed a little bit with COVID, but we're catching up now. And we're watching to see the developments at the mountain as to when they're going to open. So other than that, we're just kind of adjusting every day as to the tide. So that's my update. If anybody has any questions.
I was a little surprised to see that the ice arena is opening for public skating. I mean, on the one hand, it's good news. On the other hand, I'm worried about all those rental skates.
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised to see that too. They're still operating within the guidelines, but I was, like you, Margaret, I was surprised to see that.
Do we know whether they have some kind of sanitation process in between?
They do.
They do.
They,
Are
Yeah.
they actually renting skates? I think at one
Yes.
point they were not, okay, yeah.
they're addressing it. From Fred had called me about it and said that they are taking whatever the necessary
Okay,
steps are.
so they are, I think the earlier plan was
He
not to rent.
Talked about not renting skates,
Not
but I
renting.
don't think they can really open without doing
Okay,
that.
Okay. I saw quite a bit of trucks and equipment there.
Yeah, they just
yesterday.
have maintenance going on. I think it was specifically the fire suppression system had some pinhole leaks or something Fred had mentioned to me. So they were working on that.
Okay.
okay.
That's the last thing I knew. Did they contact you about anything, Chris?
They did not, but so for part of their occupancy, they have to have that inspection. So I'm sure it was that inspection that brought light these deficiencies. So we go in, they'll call us when they're done. We'll go in and give them the stamp of approval. So typically they don't call us if there's issues, as long as the system still works, which it does. And we just need that certification from the company when we go in and do our occupancy.
Okay. Brooke,
Hi,
hi.
we are going to have some programs this weekend. We are offering our Bear Factory to go instead of doing it in person. And we're also doing a family trivia night on Saturday night, as well as a hike on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that's what we're doing for the holiday weekend. We are finishing up our after-school program today, and then the kids will be on break, and then we'll start our second session next week.
Okay. All right, Jim, you're in the room with us.
I have just a couple of things. Work has started at well number 2 for the repairs and replacements of
Hoorah.
pieces and parts. It started on Sunday. It will resume this coming Sunday. Hopefully it'll only take either the 2 or the 3 days to complete. And then we'll be able to have the company come in and inspect the automatic valve, that Parco valve that you've heard about, and get well 2 back online. So things are looking good in that aspect. And the only other thing is that we completed the missing link, if you will, on the fence and railing at the dam. So that has
Oh,
been
yes.
installed.
It looks wonderful.
It looks great.
Thank
It
you.
really does.
Guys
Yeah.
did a great job.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that we're in the midst of our annual lead or semi-annual lead and copper testing. So households that need to have tests have been contacted, and Brad is working with them. We've gotten over half of them back now, so he's doing well getting that done. So that should be wrapped up before the middle of December deadline. Thank you for everybody who helps us with those tests.
Calendar review.
So the next meeting, the next regular board meeting is scheduled for December 9th, and then December 30th after that, because we're gonna skip a week for the Christmas week. So the 9th and the 30th, if that still works for your calendar. As far as schedules while we have the department heads here, if you'd like to take a minute and we can talk about meetings with the department heads.
Okay,
So are still planning to have you the budget documents either late on Wednesday or during the day on Friday this week. You'll have your initial packet with the departmental budgets. We can either do the week of the 29th or we can push it into the week of the 7th if you want, whatever works better for your schedule.
If it doesn't unduly cause difficulty, the week of the 7th would be better for me. Does that still give you guys enough time?
Oh, yeah, we have plenty of time. Mike, the week of the 7th, okay with you? Okay.
7th is okay for me except for Monday.
Except for Monday. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I've got
let's
a bunch
say,
of things on.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll
Oh, we have a selectmen's
tentatively-
meeting on
we have the
Wednesday.
selectmen's meeting on Wednesday, but maybe we can do a department as part of
Ahead of
that or
it.
before that. So we'll plan on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. All right, and I'll work out with department heads, the individual days. Do you want to do them on afternoons or mornings?
I would prefer morning for our budget reviews.
Yeah, I'm good either way. Morning's probably better just to get it done.
Morning's okay.
Yeah, on the 9th, I do have an appointment at 12:30,
Okay,
but that's
And,
only a
yeah.
half hour. So it would work better for me if it was like between 8 and noon
okay.
on those days. Yeah,
All right, so 8 and noon, 8, 9, and 10, would an hour before the 3 o'clock meeting on Wednesday be okay? So we could start at 2 and get a department or two done
That should be
before
all right.
meeting?
Sure.
Okay,
Mhm.
So the
so
9th is at
Tuesday and Thursday, I'll use 8 to noon, and Wednesday I'll use 2 PM as our times, and then I'll work it out with the department heads
2. I know I do have a planning board meeting on the 10th at 8
in the
a.m.
morning,
in the
right?
morning.
Yeah, so we'll do it a little bit later.
It may have to be a little bit later. Yeah,
And that's also on my memo today. Thursday, December 10th at 8 AM is the next planning board regular meeting, and that will include, at least right now, that will include reviewing language. They're currently reviewing language and finalizing some zoning ordinance changes, so that'll be the first public hearing. Won't it be that?
I believe
that meeting?
it's the 9th at 6 PM.
Oh, the 9th at 6 PM.
Right, the day before. Yeah,
The 9th
so.
at 6 PM.
So yesterday, we finalized, or let me call it first draft, first draft.
Yeah.
Of what, including into our zoning ordinance, transient rentals, short-term rentals, some might call it. Right now, our zoning ordinances are silent on the matter, but by being silent, it's not allowed, yet we know it happens here in the valley. So we've come up with some ideas, some language that the planning board is going to present to the town for the comment at a public hearing at 6 PM, I believe it's on December 9th. And
Okay.
we're planning another public hearing after that. But then our regular planning board meeting, which no doubt will also include a discussion of this.
In January,
Yeah, right.
okay. And that language will be available for people to view. We'll have links
Yes.
on the town website, and we will, make sure that folks know about
Yeah.
what the proposed changes and proposed language is.
It'll be in a handout and a chart, basically.
Yeah.
And so that'll facilitate the discussion at the public hearing on the 9th of December.
and I'm not going, Margaret.
Hmm?
I'm not going away
Oh,
that I talked to you.
okay.
So that week works. Okay, so that's all I have for calendar.
Yep.
Next.
So next, let's do the New Hampshire Bond Bank January bond issue paperwork.
Yep, so you have in your packet a certificate of vote document that has 6 different resolutions on it. This is the standard language bond bank issuance. I have been through, there's a questionnaire that we have to complete with bond counsel, and we did that last week. So that is all set. The application went before the bond bank executive board on Monday or last Friday, anyway, I lose track of which day is which, but our application was approved by the bond bank executive board, so all we have to do now is complete the certificate.
Do we need some kind of motion from the selectmen?
Yes, the motion would be that you have reviewed this certificate and you are adopting the 6 resolutions as stated in the document.
All right, I would like to move that the certificate of vote regarding authorization of bonds and approval of the loan agreement with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank, which has standard language that we've approved in the past, be approved by the select board.
I will second that motion.
All in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
All right, so that is done, and I have some signing.
You
to
have
do.
some signing to do after
Right,
the meeting.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, and just to clarify for everyone, this is the $1 million
That was approved.
water.
in
that
May.
was approved at this year's 2020 town meeting for the water system connection of pump number 3 and pump number 2 to the town treatment center, the newest treatment center that we have.
And a new crossing for our distribution system to
Correct.
get the water from that
On the
treatment
west side. to the east side,
facility
right.
over to town.
Right.
And that this bond sale will occur in January. And right now, absolute worst case that that the bond bank has projected is 3%, but they expect it to come in below that.
Well below
Well
the
below
3%.
But
Okay.
that is the high.
Right.
If it comes back higher than that, they will come back to the town and ask what we want to do.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. I'm sorry, Dylan, we didn't ask. you
Yeah.
in the department.
Actually, Dylan, yeah, we have a couple of, now
You
that we're
were
talking
sitting here
about
looking at
water,
me and I.
now that we're talking about water, we've got some stuff going on.
Yeah, so everything is still pretty much above average in terms of usage. I had sent Mark earlier today an update on flows. The flows seem like they're down compared to previous years, but the rainfall amounts are still significantly lower compared to, I'm just talking the month of November. October, I believe the flows are still up.
Yeah, and actually Dylan and I have been looking, and as we told you, I think at the last meeting or an earlier meeting, we've actually looked at it and calculated the impact of the rain. And right now, the actual influent, the actual sewer water that is coming into the plant to be treated is 1.7 million gallons higher than it was at the end of October of 2019. So January to October 20 to 19, we've actually treated 1.7 million gallons more than we did last year. And that trend, it's down a little bit in November, but still the rainfall has been less.
Right.
So I don't think we're gonna be far off that trend. So we are That's about well, if we treat say 40 million gallons a year, round figures, you're talking about what, I don't know, quick 5%, 6%
Increase.
increase in our water that we are treating.
Right.
And with respect to our drought situation, it's still the same.
It is. We are
However, the
still,
fact that we have this warmer weather is actually a good thing for that, correct?
Yeah.
Because the ground hasn't totally frozen yet.
Correct. So it still has the opportunity to absorb some of the rainfall that we get. We don't have any, as far as I know anyway, we don't have
That's
any
right.
frost issues.
I don't think we have any frost.
No. We did have a couple cold nights, but nothing that's gonna set the frost into the ground. But you're right, absolutely. The warm weather has helped us, and hopefully it stays this way for a little while anyway.
Well,
Until next week.
Yeah.
it can freeze up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
It's okay up there.
It's okay up there. That's not
2,000 and above, we're okay.
exactly.
Looking back, I'm just,
We'll let them get the front.
looking back for November anyway, 2018, to date, we had received over 8 inches of rain in 2018. 2019, we had received, I think, 3.8 inches of rain, and we're only at 2.4 right now.
Wow.
So we're still down
Mhm.
significantly,
Yeah.
and that's, comparatively.
Two-thirds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
And we did have another conceptual initial meeting with the engineers regarding the wastewater treatment plant. They're continuing to look at options. And we're still on track to have something for us. Probably at the end of December, we will have the first conceptual plans, and they're gonna try to show us, they're not gonna be able to give us any exact numbers, but they're gonna be able to show us generally how much they would anticipate the different options costing, so that we can do some comparison.
right.
They're also identifying land that will be suitable. We're doing some subsurface
Right.
investigations.
As
so they're
opposed to putting
continuing-
it in the river.
As opposed to putting it in the river, so. All right, so that's ongoing.
It's like we have a question.
We have a question. It's a question about radon. And Jen, we do not, as a town, in our town water system, test for radon.
Right.
That's a homeowner testing, right? It's on a
Correct.
building by building.
Radon is generally associated with deeper wells that are drilled into bedrock.
Right.
And all three of our wells are gravel packed wells. So the chances that we would even detect any radon in our water system are minute at
Right.
best. So it's generally associated with lead.
Jen, if your question was, how do I test for radon in my home? My recommendation, I hope you'll forgive me for this, Mike, when we do transfer of sales and homes, sometimes this comes up. So Waterville Valley Realty actually knows some people that you could contact if you're interested in finding out a radon reading in your own home.
I believe you can go to the DES website and get more information and/or direction from or a kit from the state.
You can do a kit on your own.
Mhm.
You can drop it off at a local lab too as well.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
No, we keep tests in stock in our office. If anyone really has a concern, we can, of course, give you a test. You can reimburse us for it and we can tell you how to do it. But that is just for air radon. That's not for water radon.
Looks like
Thanks,
another,
Mike.
Yeah, it was another, I think it was Jen
Another
responding.
question?
or a thank you.
I have a detector just wondering about the water. Thanks. Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda, the Renewable Energy Committee update.
They're continuing to work on they were not able to get all three of the quotes back. So they are still collecting, so I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Okay,
You also have Bob Freeze's email.
oh, yes.
7B.
Ah, yes. Bob Freeze has asked to name some, shall we say,
Private
ways?
Private ways.
Some private ways within the Moose Run project. He would like to name Antler Way and Bull Hill Way. Do we need an approval from the
Well,
selectmen?
I did this, Chris, only because I wanted to make sure from the 911 standpoint, these are private roads, and I just wanted to have this on the record so that you guys could update the 911 folks if you needed to. I wasn't sure how to handle this, but I'd rather have a board vote on it if that's all right.
Yeah, that works well, and sometimes they ask for that. They have in the past, but most of the time they don't. So that's a good idea, and I've been included in the correspondence with Bob.
So you
So
don't have any,
I'm good.
yeah, you don't have any problems with the names that he came up with. They don't match any other town roads or anything, right?
Correct.
Okay. So this would be, as you're going up Golden Heights Road from Valley Road, the first one on the left will be Bull Hill
Right.
Way, and then the other one will be Antler Way.
All right.
So do we need a motion? Is that what?
Yeah, I would like a motion, so it's in
Would
the
you like to
record.
make a motion?
Sure. So I move to accept the names provided to us by Bob Freeze for 2 new private ways.
That off of propane on E2, no peak.
What's that?
No, there you got it.
Okay, yeah, to accept the names proposed by Bob Freeze for 2 new private ways off of Golden Heights Road. The one on the left to be, as you go up the road, to be called Bull Hill Way, and the one on the right, for a little bit further up, as you go up Golden Heights Road, to be named Antler Way.
And I will second that. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye, Rich?
Mike, aye.
Okay. They have names,
They have names,
moose related.
and Bull Hill.
Bull Hill, well, it's not more
Well,
like
Bull
Bull,
Moose, yes.
more like Bull Mound. Bull-
Board concerns and directives.
Bull Plateau.
Anybody have anything?
No.
Okay. Any other correspondence, Mark?
There's nothing that I have right now.
Okay. And we don't need a non-public today?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Anybody expecting one there, department heads? You good?
Well, can I have a motion to adjourn in that case?
I will so move. This is Rich.
I'll second, Mike.
All those in favor? Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Have a nice holiday,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Have a nice holiday.
Thanksgiving.
Be
Bye,
safe.
everybody. Eat too much. It's the American way. Thanksgiving, you have an excuse. You have a
I
hall
said,
pass.
this is probably gonna be the first holiday season I don't gain any weight. Because I'm not going out to dinner. Nobody's cooking for me.